Hello everyone, Dave Pearce here from Aquarium Gardens, and this is a brief introduction to our plants. We hold and keep our plants quite differently from others. We hold them in hydroponic setups, so basically means they're immersed out of the water, going to guaranteed to be completely free from algae. They've got unlimited access to CO2 from the air, there's strong lighting above them, and lots of heavy nutrient dosing at the roots. As you can see, the plants are really strong and healthy, so you're likely to get a really big, strong plant. They transport really well because they're so robust in their immersed formats, and also the adaptability of the plants in the aquarium. They're going to adapt really well, much easier than plants that are kept in a submersed format. When you receive your plants, you receive them in a box, and inside the box there will be a tray like so, and this holds up to 12 plants. Comes with a lid, so they're completely sealed. If they're not in a tray, you'll receive them in a sealed bag like this. Inside the packaging there will be plenty of bubble wrap used to protect the plants so they don't get damaged and thrown around in the post. So you should receive the plants in excellent condition, in the same condition they left us here. If you're not ready to plant the plants straight away when you receive them, you can hold them in their packaging for up to 48 hours. If you want to keep them a little bit longer, just pop them in a room temperature bucket of water and they'll be fine for another further 24 hours.
So you've got a potted plant there. What species is it and how do you prepare it?
This plant is Hemianthus callitrichoides cuba. It's a foreground plant, a carpeting plant, and now I'll show you how you would prepare this plant to pop it in the aquarium. So first of all, you need to remove the label, we don't need that. And then next, we need to remove the plant from the pot. The pot is used for cultivation purposes only, so we don't need that. So next we need to remove the rock wool from the plant itself. This is your growing medium that's used to grow the plant in the greenhouses from our suppliers. Take your pair of scissors and you can cut the majority of the wool away. This plant has got really short roots, so they won't be. You can just cut most of that away without damaging the roots. And then we can just gently peel away the rock wool from the bottom of the plants, trying not to damage the roots too much. You can actually use your tweezers to take away the rest of the rock wool, the little bits that are left, and then you're essentially left. Now you need to divide the plant into a number of portions. You can do this by just tearing parts of the plant away from the bottom, and there is one portion, and just repeating this process. Again, trying not to damage the plant roots too much or the plant itself. There's another portion there. If it gets a little bit tricky, you can use your scissors, you can cut the plants away like so. There's another portion. If you wanted to, you could cut them down into smaller portions, as small as you feel necessary. But for now, we've got 6 portions from that pot. So first of all, before planting any plants, we need to wet the substrate. It's much easier to plant the plants in a wet substrate rather than a dry substrate. So take your spray mister and wet the substrates.
And is that just tap water?
This is just tap water, so no special water, no additives. Right, so this plant is a foreground plant and it's a carpeting plant. We're going to plant this in the front of the aquarium, directly into the soil. So you can take one portion and take your tweezers and grab it by the roots, like so. Then you can pop the roots directly into the substrate. Use your finger like that and remove the tweezers, and the plant will be securely in place.
It's a very popular carpeting plant, but a lot of people have trouble growing it. What would your top tips would be for success with this Hemianthus callitrichoides cuba?
Good lighting. Usually this plant is growing quite low down in the aquarium, so we need good lighting to penetrate. High levels of CO2. It's quite a demanding plant in terms of CO2. Good water movement and circulation around where the plant is growing, and also good fertilisation because it's a fast grower, so it's going to be consuming lots of nutrients.
So what plant have you got there, Dave?
This plant is Anubias nana. It's a rheophyte plant. These sorts of plants need attaching to wood or rock. Other plants include things like Microsorum, Bulbitis, Bucephalandra. These are all rheophyte plants that should be attached to wood or rock as opposed to planting directly into the substrate. So remove the label and remove the plant from the pot. You'll see the roots, quite a good root structure on this plant. Again, just get rid of all the rock wool, we don't need that. Just a growing medium for plants in cultivation. And you will see this plant has what's called a rhizome. It's big bulky bits at the bottom of the plants. That's one plant there, but we can actually separate that into two portions. We can just cut the rhizome at any point. So I'm going to cut the rhizome with a pair of sharp scissors right down the middle. So we can create two plants, like so. So here is one plant, and we're going to, there's a number of ways you can attach these plants to the wood. The first way is just simply pushing them in the nooks and crannies or the crevices of the wood. So here I'm simply going to push the roots, and over time the roots will grow onto the wood. The second way of attaching plants to wood is using a glue. This is Flourish glue. You can use normal super glue as well. And you simply want to put a few dots of the glue onto the wood where you want to attach the plants. So I'm going to attach the plant to this area of the wood here. Just put a small amount of the glue. It's really strong, so you don't need that much. And we're going to attach the plants from the rhizome to the wood. And all you need to do is hold that on there for approximately 1 minute.
That's great, Dave. Is there any other things we need to think about when we're preparing our plants out of water?
So plants like Anubias, ferns, Bucephalandra are really susceptible to drying out quite quickly and quite easily. So while we're planting our plants, we need to spray them along the way. So I'm just going to pop this into the aquarium, position it in an attractive position. So if I want to attach more plants onto this wood, I want to keep the other plants moist, prevent them from drying out, just by giving them a quick spray. So this plant we've got is a Cryptocorini. It's a rosette plant, so the plant grows from the main root mass. It doesn't necessarily send out runners or creep. Remove the pots. You see there's quite a good root structure on this plant.
What are you looking for with the roots in particular? Is there any like signs of health or ill health in roots?
If the roots are grey or brown, or that potentially mean they're rotting and not in good condition, what you're looking for is a really strong, thick, white root mass, and this is a sign of a healthy and strong plant. So to separate the plant, we can either tear it away or use some scissors. So I'm just going to attempt to tear away part of the plant into a number of different portions using my fingers. So there, see one plant that we can plant that on its own. We'll just carry on separating into a number of different portions. So you can see how many plants you can actually get from just one pot. So there we go, we've got 8 different plants from just one pot. So you take your scissors and you can cut like so. So obviously now there's a smaller root mass there, which is going to make it much easier to plant in the aquarium. Yeah, this species is a mid-ground plant, so ideal for planting just behind your foreground plants, maybe in front of some wood or some rocks in the middle of your aquarium. Again, the same principle, just pop the plant in, use your finger as you're pulling the tweezers out, and you can just tuck them in like so.
Okay, what plant you got there, Dave?
This plant is a stem plant. It's called Rotala rotundifolia. With stem plants, you get a number of stems in each pot, and you need to separate these. You can either plant them individually, individual stems, or you can group them together in 2s or 3s. Most stem plants are quite fast growers, so they're quite good to have in the beginning of any aquascape really, because they uptake lots of nutrients quite quickly and help stabilise the aquarium quite quickly. Even if you don't want them in there long term, I think it's sometimes always good to have a few stem plants right from the beginning.
How densely would you normally plant the substrate? Are you talking sort of as densely as you can?
Personally, I would put as many plants in there as you can. We want to plant densely from the beginning because this helps, again, mature the aquascape, more chance of success. We're also limiting the possibilities of getting algae. The more plants that are in there from the beginning, the less chance that algae has to thrive, because the plants will be out competing the algae. So I'm using a pair of tweezers to plant the stem plants in the back here. It's much easier than using your fingers, which can be a little bit tricky sometimes, so it's much easier using a nice fine pair of tweezers. Again, just using your finger and slowly pulling the tweezers out when you're planting them. So this is a in vitro plants or tissue culture plants. These plants are produced in the laboratories. The main advantages is they're grown in a completely sterile environment. So this means they're guaranteed to be completely free from algae, snails, pests, disease. So you're getting a really healthy plant, ideal for planting in tanks with shrimps, where you want to guarantee there's been no pesticides used. If you're worried about snails, then these are the plants to go for, because you're guaranteed again not to get any snail infestations with these plants. So to prepare your tissue culture plant for planting, first of all we need to remove the packaging. You can remove the lid and gently take out the plant from the pots. There'll either be a gel media in the bottom or some liquid which we can remove. And first of all we're going to split the pot into a number of portions. So they're quite delicate, it's quite a thick plant mass in these pots. It's surprising how many plantlets you can get from one pot. So you may have noticed the pot looks really small first of all, but actually when we remove the plant from the pot and start dividing up the pot into a number of portions, you're probably going to be getting more plants from one tissue culture pot than you would from a standard sized pot, net potted plant. In the beginning you will need to fertilise your tissue culture plants straight away. You want to give them the best possible start. They are young baby plantlets, so giving them plenty of food is really important. So we're just going to plant them around about 1 or 2 centimetres apart from each other. So here we have some Christmas moss. Normally you buy these in little cups or little portions, so you get a decent amount for each portion, but again you'll be surprised at how far one portion can go. Mosses need to be tied down or attached or glued to wood or rocks, and they'll grow and attach themselves to the wood or rocks over time. So to attach the moss we're going to use some glue, and we're also going to insert it into the crevices of the wood. So first of all you can just take a portion of the moss. You don't need very much, that's probably enough. First of all we're just going to attach it by pushing it into this crevice in the wood here, like so. I'll just attach another bit there. So just by pushing it in, the moss is really resilient. If there are no available crevices or nooks and crannies to push your moss into, you can simply use a small piece of glue, super glue, or this is Seachem flourish glue. Dot a small amount onto the wood and layer your moss onto the wood. So you can hold it there for about 30 seconds to 1 minute, and then it should be stuck down. So that's the aquarium planted. We've talked about how we keep our plants here at Aquarium Gardens. We've talked about how we transport them to you. We've talked about how we prepare the plants for planting in your aquarium, and we've also talked about how we actually plant them into the aquarium. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please subscribe, and cheers, keep on scaping.